The iScooter F3 is an Wall electric scooter. It weighs 20 kilo, comes with 2 drum brakes and a 1,000-watt motor. There's a basket at the back, and we get a brake light and a front light. Let's go to the store. Hello everyone. Well, in today's episode I have to do another scooter test, or more precisely, I've already completed the scooter test. Now I'm going to tell you what it's like to use this scooter under real conditions. But before we dive into the experience report, we'll go through the usual things. So first we'll unpack, assemble, I'll show you the exterior, tell you the specifications, and at the very end there will be the experience report. So the assembly really doesn't take any time at all. It comes in a small box, only 20 kilos. You can easily take it out. Essentially everything is already assembled. You won't have to do anything. You just need to attach the handlebars, attach the seat. And the longest task is installing the basket. Let's say this takes 10 minutes, so the whole thing is a complete 20-minute task. Interestingly, the light is already installed back here on this part. If you want to attach the basket, you have to remove it from there and install it on the back of the basket. There is a designated spot for it there as well. Well, that's about it for the assembly. There's not much to adjust. It has drum brakes, which were well adjusted from the factory, and there was enough air in the tires, so basically you can set off on your first ride with it. I've already mentioned the essential details from the specifications, but I'll add a couple more things. So the motor is 1,000 watts. This is the maximum power it can deliver. According to the factory data, the maximum speed is 25 kilometers per hour, which is the limit set for the scooter, but you can unlock this restriction. And if you do, the factory data states that the top speed will be 45 kilometers per hour, which is brutal for a machine of this size. I will obviously talk more about this later. We received a surprisingly large range of around 60 kilometers, which is surprisingly large because it's 48 volts, and the battery is only 13 ampere hours, which is not an insanely large capacity. I talked about the lights, right? There's a rear light and a front light. In the front, there's an LED projector headlight. While the rear light is not just a light, but also functions as a brake light, so it's connected to the electrical system. You don't need to put in a battery, and you don't need to charge an accumulator. When you start the scooter, the light starts as well. As I mentioned, it has a drum brake, so it doesn't have the usual mechanical disc brake. Obviously, it doesn't have a hydraulic disc brake either. So we get 2 drum brakes, whose effectiveness is somewhat questionable, but I will certainly talk about this as well. Let's take a look from the outside, and then I'll show you a few more things about my scooter. Okay, so let's take a look at the little one. As you can see, it has a relatively wide handlebar, at least wide compared to the size of the entire scooter. We have wrist straps on both sides, which is really nice. We have brake levers on both sides, a bell on the left side, the instrument unit on the right side, and the ignition key. Regarding the ignition key, it's important to note that it has 2 positions. One to power the scooter, and the other to turn on the lights. On the instrument unit, you will find only 1 button, which might seem strange at first. But it's definitely an advantage, because for the age group this scooter is intended for, it's important that the control and operation are as simple as possible. With this single button, you can simply and easily adjust the speed setting, and also switch between the data displayed on the screen. This button is also needed to release the speed lock. The speed is factory limited to 25 kilometers per hour, but if you pull this brake lever and press this button 5 times quickly in succession, the speed lock will be released, and the factory setting will be accessible. Factory sets maximum speed of 45 kilometers per hour. Naturally, this is understood to be without load, and I will talk a bit more about this. What else should you know about the stuff? Well, you should also know that there is no rubberized footrest, but this plastic is relatively non-slip. It's hard, but at least easy to clean, unlike rubber solutions. What is also important is visible here at the bottom of the seat. This is a double clamp, and it's very, very good. Advantage is that besides the quick release clamp, there is also a screw clamp. With these scooters, it often happens with the quick release that due to the vibrations and our body weight, this tube on which we sit on the seat slowly slides back into place, and the seat height constantly needs to be adjusted. Now, with this solution, there is no such problem because it has a double clamp, and this is an incredibly good thing. A dirt cheap solution, but very effective, so it deserves a big gold star. As I mentioned, the scooter's frame is assembled from aluminum tubing, which makes it not too heavy, and as you can see, there is no suspension on it. All the shock absorption is provided by the balloon tires, which are 10 inches, and since they are balloon tires, they contain air. This is adequate on medium quality roads, but on poor quality roads, it's a bit insufficient. As I mentioned, we find a drum brake both at the front, and we find a drum brake at the back as well. You can see its mechanism on the other side. As I mentioned, we have a light here, which is an LED light, a projector light. We have a light at the back, which is not just a light, but also serves as a brake light. This means that this light is connected to the electrical system, which is really great. We have this at the front, and at the back, a plastic mudguard, and that's pretty much the scooter. It's equipped with solutions as simple as a wedge, so there's a good chance it won't break down anytime soon, as there's really nothing on it that could break. So that's about it. We've covered the specifications. I've shown the exterior. Now let's move on to the experiences. Let's start with the fact that, well, we got a 60-kilometer range on a single charge, as I mentioned, for this battery, which is a bit exaggerated. I would say that with my brother, for example, in a hilly environment where you accelerate a lot and release the speed lock, it's more like 25-30 kilometers that can be considered realistic. Of course, this changes a lot if you are lighter than me, or if the terrain you have to travel on is easier. So let's agree that you should calculate with 30, in my opinion, in the case that an older gentleman or lady is using this scooter. Then the speed lock should not be released. If you do not release the speed lock, you will have a very easy to use, very safe and very simple device that can go up to 6 kilometers per hour at the lowest assistance level and up to 25 at the highest. It doesn't accelerate crazily. It doesn't brake crazily. It's really very user-friendly and very easy to handle. And for the target audience for whom I think this scooter, or rather electric scooter, was intended, this setting is absolutely perfect. However, in the case that you are a bit younger, or you want to go at a higher speed, then you can easily unlock this speed limiter. And well, it has a motor that they claim is 1000 watts, which I actually think is not 1000 watts. At most, its peak performance is 1000 watts. I would say that the normal performance of this motor is more around 500 watts, but that's more than enough, as you'll be sitting on an incredibly small, incredibly lightweight structure with 10-fold wheels. With my body weight, this structure was able to go 35 km with the speed limiter released, a little more, but I think that was more than enough. I wouldn't want to go faster with this scooter, because it would be a bit dangerous, as it really is a very small structure. So I absolutely don't think that the factory limit, the factory speed limit, in this case, is excessive or would hinder us in any way. For the usage this scooter was designed for, the 25 km per hour maximum speed is perfectly fine, in my opinion. If you like risks, then turn it off and go at 35, but I'm not even sure. I would recommend that. The seat is comfortable, adequately soft, but not too soft. It would have been nice to have a bit of shock absorption at the bottom, which some scooters have, but this one lacks it. The width of the handlebar is good. As I mentioned, the handling is perfect. In fact, this whole structure is designed for older people who have not used such devices before, whether sitting or standing on a scooter, so they can use it safely, comfortably, and calmly. So in my opinion, this device is primarily designed for older people, those who would use it for routes between the store and home, or church and home, which otherwise they could only have done on foot, which might be difficult for them. The little basket on it is very good. It can hold about 2 kilos of packaged meat. You can fit 3 to 4 liters of milk in it, so I think it's more than enough for daily shopping. It further reduces the risk of accidents because you don't have to carry your stuff in a bag on the handlebars, swinging around, but you can put everything in this trunk. So the essence of this thing is that, well, it's not a very exciting scooter, let's be honest, and obviously it wasn't designed to be exciting. On the contrary, it was designed to be a simple, easy, and safe to use as possible to create a scooter. And I think the iScooter has succeeded in this. Of course, it's also crucial to consider how much this device costs, because if it's too expensive, we won't be able to buy it. And our older retired compatriots won't be able to purchase it either. Well, I'm pleased to say that with a coupon, the price of this scooter is currently 121,000 forints. So for 121,000 forints, we get a scooter with a peak power of 1,000 watts, approximately 30 kilometers of range, 10-inch wheels, good brakes, and good lights, which I think is particularly good. So this is your test. I can't add anything more now. Here you can choose from the 2 other videos appearing next to me, whichever you like. Watch them. Be good. And I'll be back soon with more scooter tests. So subscribe to the channel and come back. Bye.